When it comes to investment, a lot of people feel that if you can speak well, if you're well articulated, you're investor worthy.
Can you tell me something that you believe in that most people don't agree with you on?
When you are navigating building something,
Yeah.
you are going to fail, Caribbean, every day.
Yeah.
Failure is inevitable. Listen, a lot of innovations that truly stand the test of time, that truly solve a problem, had visionaries who truly understood the problem.
What were the obstacles that you had to overcome in order for that to happen?
Guy, I had my son when I was, 20? What ended up happening is I left our home and I started from scratch. I would go to bed crying and begging for God to kill me. But it is not something I would wish on any woman. As a mom, I can love my son. I can nurture my son. As much as people will talk about strong women, but a woman cannot teach a boy how to be a man.
So, Khalila, I feel like I've known you before I've even known you, and I still kind of don't really know you. Because it's ni jina fulani ambao nimekuwa nikilisikia sometime around 2014. This is just after nimetoka Tusker Project fame. I wanted to take a break from school, figure out this music thing. 2014, 15, 16-ish. I was doing a lot of events, especially in Arusha and Nairobi. Around 2017-ish, I decided, you know what? I think I need to move to Dar. And of course, there are some people I was already connecting with, but there were also names that were being thrown. Come, hey, make sure you reach out. Make sure you know this. You know, your name popped up a lot. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm saying that. Mm-hmm. And over the years, it looks like you stick your fingers in a lot of things.
Dang.
So for the people who are gonna watch this, but for myself too,
right,
Khalila.
Yeah.
Who are you and what do you do with your time?
Dang. Okay. So I'm just gonna say, the moment you said that you feel that you knew me before we've actually sat down and had like a song popped into my mind. You have to know the song. Mm-hmm. It's popular in the 90s. ITV2 played it a lot. Mm-hmm. Different context. I knew you before I know he didn't say knew you, but I just remixed it. Yeah, my brain goes there all the time when I'm having conversations with people. If people knew how I literally go to songs when people say something, I'm like, oh.
Really?
Yeah, I just have to sit there and just like, okay. Serious face.
Okay.
All right. But what do I do? Yeah, so I am a mother of 3 incredible human beings. And what I do with my time, apart from trying to figure out how to make sure I'm preparing these human beings for the next not even the next generation, the now generation, preparing them to be able to give, meaningful contributions to this world.
Yeah.
I drill into my areas of purpose and what I believe I've been created to do.
Okay.
And perhaps I'm going to be reaching ahead of things you're going to ask later. But I have, it's taken me a while to be okay with the fact that I'm multi-passionate. I'm a multi-talented individual who can do different things, but find ways to now take the different things that I can do and streamline them so I understand how to add value to them and to figure out how to make sense of what I can do. And so right now I run Unleashed Africa Social Ventures, which is a group of social enterprises.
Yes.
And we work at the intersection of youth development, social innovation, job creation.
Okay.
Fancy way to say just we have different programs, projects, services, and products, specifically tech products within the creative industry. We work within, I've literally gender tech, that's what I'm calling it. We have different work within the gender space, and we have different work within the social enterprise, enterprise space. So we do social enterprise development. We've run accelerator programs in the past, but we've also got a program called Nipedili, which is basically, it has been lovingly called, outside of this continent, the Shark Tank for social enterprises in Africa. And
Nipedili.
Season 3 is coming up this year. I just plugged in. And I'm a speaker. I write a lot. I write about each and every single thing. I enjoy writing. It's something that I've always been really good at. And it's taken me a while to even feel that I can use that to add value to anything. But I've really gone into that now. So long story short, I'm a serial social entrepreneur, innovating within the tech, media, but at the same time space, largely within 3 distinct sectors right now: creative economy, gender, social entrepreneurship development, social enterprise development. I'm a speaker across different things that I do. And I tap, for a lot of people, they might see me in events and people call me an MC and I keep correcting them. I don't MC. I'm a conversation curator. When it comes to the development conversations, the SDGs that we talk about, AU Agenda 2063. Right now, we're talking about Vision 2050. To be able to get people to really sink into those conversations, understand those concepts, be able to take ownership and hence take action, people have to be plugged in and triggered rightly. Right. And communication plays a very important role. Yeah. And one of the things that we do whenever we run most of our events, we just have an agenda and just run through it. Yeah. But when you have convened people, it is a very important and very special opportunity to leverage people coming together to trigger thought, corrective thought, so that we can now then trigger action. And so even if it's 2 people that I get to think differently within when I'm hosting conversations, that's what I do. Okay. So whenever people see me do different, I'm like, oh, you're an MC? I'm like, no, I host and I'm a conversation curator. That's what I do. You're a CC, not an MC. Got it. Like that. All right. Okay. And then, so I'm a speaker. And of course, I also delve into a lot of, now the development space as well. I have led different development institutions, different NGOs. I've worked and led different NGOs. But I am just a human being who's really passionate about getting and triggering people to think differently. Yeah. And hence feel differently and act differently. Okay. Let's leave the world better than we found it, and let's leave meaningful legacies. I keep telling people, I'm like, you're age 65, we'll say our life expectancy in Tanzania is 63. But you'd think, okay, 65, life expectancy, maybe 90, 65, 90 years is a very short time compared to the eternity of your legacy. So let's make sure that we leave legacies that actually count. Okay. Right? Okay. So you're someone who believes in leaving a legacy. 100%. Yeah. And somehow, for some reason, since I was as small as I can remember, that's a word that stuck to mind. Legacy. It's not a trend ambao nimekutana nayo sasa hivi. Can I use Swahili? Yeah. Right, I go back and forth. It's not a trend ambao nimekutana nayo sasa hivi. I remember being 8 and I don't even remember what that word stuck to me. But I was really young when I started thinking about legacy. Right? And what do I want my life to mean? What do I want to do this? And then nikakutana na maisha, nikapigwa na vitu vizito. Sasa hivi ndo nimeanza kupasa. Okay. Okay, what do you think, what is this, who planted that seed, or how did that seed get planted into your mind about nisiishi tu maisha kwa ajili ya sasa hivi, ila niishi maisha ambayo, au nifanye jambo ambalo litaishi hata baada ya mimi kutokuwepo? Because that's what a legacy is, right? Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think I cannot pinpoint the exact time. Yeah. So I was raised by a single mom. Okay. Me too. I was raised by a single mom, late Grace Mbowe, and she was very creative. She was one of those people, whenever I think of my mom, I'm like, if you were born in a different continent, in a different space, ungekuwa mbali sana. But, of course, God, Mungu hafundishi kazi. Yeah. The environment she was bred into, the life circumstances that she faced, created certain mental models in her that led or guided how she parented me or parented us. I have a brother and a younger sister.
Okay.
And I've always been very creative. But when I was young, I was always I was convinced that my creativity was actually a flaw.
Okay.
A flaw, like just. And that legacy bit, I remember I used to love reading. That was my escape. We had a conversation before this, and I told you I'm a nerd.com. And I used to love reading. You have no idea.
Yeah.
Like to a point where when I got into Form 1 and Form 2, I went to Visitation Girls Secondary School.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that the school had to stop me from doing was reading books.
What kind of books were you reading?
I'd read everything.
Okay.
So my mom, every single time during this parent days, that's what they call it, visiting days. People would be excited about the food and I'm like, I'd write, no. She would not just be one book.
Yeah.
She would bring kikapu cha vitabu. There used to be a bookstore in Upanga where I think, right now, I think they used to get books kwenye, unajua easy giveaways from the States.
Yeah.
And so they used to get shelves upon shelves of books.
Yeah.
Ukiingia mle ndani, I remember the thing that I used to enjoy the most. Unajua single mother kutoa buku 10 ya kwenda shopping wakati ule. Mjeda.
Yeah. Sio rahisi.
Nakumbuka this day we went into that bookshop. Akaweka 10 akasema buy books. My brain blew. My heart palpitated. I was almost on the floor. I was looking, wakati ule it was blue in color.
Yeah.
I was looking at ile 10. I'm like, Guy, we came out with 2 boxes. And I read those. I will literally disappear. And I'd read, people talk about, novel. I'm like, you read it and it gives you an escape.
Yeah.
And I truly think that that's kind of where I got it.
Okay.
I cannot pinpoint it.
Exactly, yeah.
But considering we didn't necessarily have access, we were watching TV, sana. We were not that family.
Yeah.
But books.
Yeah.
My mom meant it was books.
Yeah.
Yo, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. I think my English improved when I started reading books. Yeah. It wasn't movies. It wasn't music.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't traveling. To just books. The vocabulary got better.
100%.
Yeah,
you learn new things all the time.
Yeah.
And it also teaches you so many different concepts because what you read in this book, then you have another book, Changanoring.
Yeah.
The books that I should not have read, though. The Mills and Boones destroyed me.
Well.
The Sweet Valley High, Lord, no.
I think they kind of made me. They didn't destroy me.
Oh, they did.
I feel like I needed to do them in order to... They were the frogs that had to be kissed.
Yeah, and that's the distraction I mean. Like... Because then they skew your perception of romance and reality.
But that's the point.
They really do. They really do. Don't tell me, Komba, you did not have to go through different bumps on the road. For anybody who read Bills and Booms, I'm like, talk to me about your love life. It was not easy. It was not easy. Because those books, they give you the unaltered perception of reality.
Yeah.
And as a kid...
But that's the whole point. It's a novel. It's fiction.
As a kid, when you don't have the tools to be able to actually pick out what's real and what's not, and you don't have your own foundational facets to, have a thinking process that tells you how to see things, it's destructive.
Okay.
No kid of mine is reading Mills and Boones. Mills and Boones for...
I will let them read them.
Oh,
They're good books. They're written very well. They're perfect for puberty.
Post-puberty. Especially if you have a girl.
Yeah.
And because, again,
I guess
girls, men, we perceive things a little bit differently.
Yeah. I get where you're coming from, though, in terms of like perception of what you think should be done or what normal is. It could be a bit more damaging for a young girl than a young boy.
Well, let's just say maybe you had a shield of some sort, but even for young boys, it is actually damaging in terms of what they begin to expect of women. But then I digress. But anyway.
Okay. So after Mills and Boom, did you find yourself leaning on certain kinds of topics in terms of books that you wanted to read, or it was just whatever you get your hands on?
I read the Nancy Drews, the Sweet Valley Highs. I read the Harry Potters a lot. I read the Mills and Boones. I read a lot of different genres. I was in and out.
Yeah.
And I also used to love reading biographies.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
guys.
Okay.
The biography that I read that shook me to the core still does till this day. Long Walk to Freedom. Still, I remember I read that book and I would Mandela.
Yeah.
Unajua, because I am a creative, innately a creative. So as I'm reading those books, the flashes in my mind, I am living
You're visualizing it. Yeah.
I will cry with a book more than I'll with the movie.
Yeah.
Nitagalagala na iko kitabu. Then I'll close it. I'm like, no, let's go. Keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very dramatic.
Yeah. Yeah. Alafu pia unajua most books, especially the ones that are written well, once you watch the movie, you get disappointed. Yeah, it's almost as if you've read the book, don't watch it, because it will never meet the same 100%. Level of detail.
Yes.
Because kwenye kitabu huoni kwa anakwambia hadi mshikaji ali hema sharply or yeah.
And then of course you are now translating that with your own nuances.
Imagination,
right?
Yeah.
So the hema sharply yako na yangu might be different.
Yeah.
But but then both you feel it really deeply. You own that perception. Perspective. You own it.
Yeah.
The movie, it's your perspective and you're giving it to me. So reading is something we should read more.
Yeah. Do you still read a lot?
Yeah, I try.
You try?
I try a lot. Yes.
How do you make time?
So I've gone back and forth with that. But one of the things that I've put for myself, so I'm one of those people who have bookshelves of several books, but I might not read every book.
Yeah.
Bookshelves of several unread books.
Yeah.
So I try to do at least 10 pages, if it's 5 pages, but I try to read because for me it's also very therapeutic.
Okay.
And there's a time when I started picking books because other people said they were great. Right? So read this book because it's great.
Yeah.
But I'm like, and then so you force yourself to try to read the book and to swallow it, but you're not swallowing. Kumeza kugumu. Unadongo enono mlado ghafla umepata tezi. Hakimezeki. And you find that you're on that page consistently because perhaps that person's writing style is not something that you relate with.
Yeah.
Or perhaps it's just that's not the book you should read in that season.
Yeah.
So I've become very conscious and proactive about picking things that speak to the curiosities that I have in that time.
At that point in time.
Right.
Okay.
I'm like, this is a curiosity that I need to feed.
Right.
And then also a curiosity that connects with what I'm building for the future.
Okay.
I always want to be inspired not by the hoo-ha, the highlight reel, which is what a lot of people do nowadays, where you have a lot of books telling you work hard. And I'm like, nah.
Yeah.
Like
that's not all there is.
Yeah, that's not all there is. Yeah. I want to go to the nitty-gritty.
Yeah.
And for even the books that really talk about the mess-ups, where people can be vulnerable about, and which is also why I love biographies, where people can be vulnerable about the mishaps, the missteps, the gaps. Yeah. Those are the ones that I relate to the most.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. If you could choose a theme song for your life right now, what would it be?
Gosh. Because, I mean, in the very beginning, I started with that. I knew it, so that I'm stuck there. Nope. I just thought of a song, and I was like, probably not. But I thought...
You can have more than one song.
The song I thought about was... I have a few. I have a few gospel songs, several, in my mind. And because 100%... The thing that grounds me across everything that I do is my love for the Word of God and the truth of the gospel of Jesus Christ, and how I believe that every single one of us is made by purpose, for a purpose. We're here to do something. We're not just here to live, breathe, and die. We're here to do something. So that's largely something that drives everything that I do, and hence the first song it's one of my son's favorite song. Ameniona, Ameniona. You do know it? If you get to watch this son at any point in your life, I gave you a shout out. At Msasa.
Who sang the song?
Bella Combo.
Ameniona, Nimpia.
Yes. No, not really. My son knows the song word to word, and it's 2.
Okay.
And then there's the other one that he really loves. Wana imerudi tena. Yes,
you've got a voice.
Thank you.
Look at you.
Msasa. All right. But then, Maya Angelou's poem, Still I Rise?
Yeah.
So they turned that into a song.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Who's they?
I don't know the day,
Okay.
but it's a song.
Okay.
And I was looking for it sometime this week, actually. I came across it. Still I Rise, that song.
Yeah.
That despite whatever personally happened to me, despite whatever is happening to me,
Yeah.
still I rise because I still have a purpose until the day nadanja.
Yeah.
I still I rise.
Okay. Okay. Tell me about Nipedile.
Nice. So Nipedile, with Unleashed Africa, what our brand social enterprise development, we've run 2 accelerator programs before. We had one called Tujenge TZ Innovation Challenge.
Tujenge TZ Innovation Challenge.
Right. Uh-huh. The concept of social entrepreneurship is still quite young in Tanzania. A lot of people have a lot of misconceptions about it.
Okay.
And even for me, it was a very much of a challenge for me to even get to a point where I was like, I'm a social entrepreneur.
Okay.
Because I've always wanted to do work that directly has
impact on community,
positive impact on community, leaves legacies, etc. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I didn't want to have, and it was an NGO mentality. That's not what I had.
Okay.
I was always also drawn to the powerful, potential that strong brands and companies have to build a continent, right? I've always been driven to that. So I'm like, how do you resolve that dichotomy of thinking?
Okay.
So because in TZ, at that point, you're either NGO, a company, like you can't be. Yeah. And then of course you meet with people and I'm like, Kellz, and I'm like, no, but there's gotta be some sort of balance.
Yeah.
And I'm really grateful to, I don't know if you've of course heard it, the Yali program. Yeah. And so I did Yali, but then
I've
did
heard of Wali too.
Nakwambia, tena wanini, wanazi, hatari. So the Yali program, I did the East Africa Regional Leadership Center in Nairobi.
Yeah.
And for the first time, because prior to this program, I'd always been very, very, very interested in doing things that, like I said, have an impact. And I'd have conversations with people. But every single time I had a conversation with somebody about what I wanted to do, I always left feeling very either depressed, very lacking, or very weird about myself that, there's something wrong. Like,
why? Because of what they said back?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'd always leave feeling too much.
Okay.
Too much, too ambitious, we're fun, too heavy. And I'm like, but.
Yeah.
And the most rewarding part for me about that experience is one, I was explaining to somebody about what I wanted to do. And he said like, oh, you mean like a social enterprise? I had never heard about the term. I'm like, the light bulb. There's a light bulb, but I feel like Mount Everest just went in my brain.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
He put a word to something that I'd been saying for so many years.
Right.
And we started talking about it. So I delved into it. I'm pretty sure that person, mpaka leo hakumbuki. But that, I will never forget that conversation. It was in a car.
Yeah.
It was near Kenyatta University. I even remember where it was.
Right.
And the other part was the fact that I was in the midst of a community who there was nothing that I could say that seemed outrageous to them.
Okay.
Do you know the power of being in the middle of nerds?
Yeah.
Who literally speak nerd and like you're just all nerding about?
Yeah.
And your nerd is validated.
Yeah.
Like my guy, like you say something and somebody's like, yes, by the way you could do it. And you're like,
Karibu kwenye Msasa, where we talk to successful people about failure.
I felt alive and I felt accepted. I felt validated for the first time in my journey. That's kind of where I feel.
What year was this? Do you remember?
Pardon?
What year was this?
This was 2015, I remember.
Okay.
I remember even my first encounter, this was July. We were the first cohort. I remember it I remember every single encounter. I remember every single face that even though what I am doing right now is informed but years away from what I pitched at that point, that literally telling me that, hey, we hear you, what you're saying is possible, and we believe you can do it. You're not crazy. Just that you're not mad.
Yeah.
It is okay.
Yeah.
Because at that point, by the way, as a mother of two, kibongo bongo, a lot of people you're talking to, mtu anakuambia, no, kaa nyumbani tunza watoto. Tafuta kazi ya kawaida. Kaa nyumbani tunza watoto, tafuta mme. And then you come sit there and you have these dreams where you're literally, waking up in the middle of the night and you have a vision that's choking you. You cannot sleep.
Yeah.
You're doing this, Msasa, so I know you know.
Yeah.
Where you see things in the streets and you are choked because you're suffocated.
Yeah.
Because you see the different things and you know the impact you could have.
Yeah.
But every single person you talk to makes you feel that, you're probably nuts. Like, what? No.
Yeah.
Right? So this was a turning point for me. Now, when I came back, it was really important for me because I'm like, there's no way I'm alone like this. I'm pretty sure there are other people. So the Tujenge TZ Innovation Challenge was a program that we run. It was inspired by, as well as funded by, our partner at that point was HSF, Hansayo Foundation. And we also worked closely with Trumaisha. So it was a 3-year program.
True what?
Trumaisha.
Trumaisha. Okay.
3-year program that was taking social entrepreneurs, so they go through, it's a full-year accelerator program. So at the end of the second year, there was an idea to have an investor matchmaking session where, you have the entrepreneur's pitch to an investor. And for the longest time, one of the things that was really boggling my mind is in these conversations, right? Because I'm not a person who had access to these rooms before, right? Even though I had English and everybody, assumes that kwa sababu unazungumza Kiingereza kilichonyooka, you have all the access, you have all the opportunities. I had no clue. Yali, I think, was the first thing that I didn't even know that there's a world like that out there. Right? And I was like, I'm pretty sure there are other people who want to do things. Ndio, as much as we're telling them, go online and find resources, but they just don't know.
Yeah.
And when it comes to investment, there's so many layers, and there's so many, not just layers in how you should structure your business and think about your business, but also in terms of your own thinking, from just the foundational thinking of how you even enter or even start entertaining an idea that could be investor worthy. Right? And there are very few people that have access to those conversations and access to those rooms. So the whole idea was, let's rip open this curtain. Let's let people into the room. So again, very much, I love media, very much inspired by the different ninis I watch. I'm one of those people I binge watch on 2 different things. I binge watch on adverts.
You binge watch on adverts?
I love.
Like on YouTube?
No, yes.
Okay.
I shouldn't have said that out loud.
Why?
I'm pretty sure, I'm pretty sure there's a community that does that too.
Yeah.
I'm not the only weird person. I'm probably sure you probably do it too.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yes.
Especially when researching. Not for fun though. You do it for fun. I do it
You
for
didn't
work.
have to. You do not have to do that.
What's wrong with that?
But in the very beginning, when you said me too, I just felt like we were kindred spirits.
Oh, right.
And then you left the room. No. You can't do that.
Well,
Come back to the room.
I binge watch trailers.
Me too.
Yeah, because sometimes I struggle to find what to watch. I'm just like, let me just watch trailers. And then I just watch trailers for 2 hours, 3 hours.
You're special.
So it's not so strange. Yeah.
So the ads, and then also, where was I going with this? Yes, shows. I love watching shows. So I've binge watched Shark Tank on a different level.
Okay.
Binge watched Lion's Den, not necessarily simply because of just the investment climate and understanding how the investors think, which is a very big thing. Because like I said, very passionate about building brands that can grow the continent. And I didn't feel that I was in a space where I was taught what I needed to know. So I'd literally watch those shows with a pen and a paper. And I'm like, okay, how are these investors thinking?
Okay.
And then it's also just the quality of the production itself.
Yeah.
I'm very much in love with the entire production process.
Okay.
If I had the opportunity to literally take some time off and go and study production, I would do that.
Okay.
Because also, by the way, I've done a lot of theater production work.
Okay.
That's in my other life, I do. So I'm in the creative space.
Yeah.
I write, I sing, I have acted, I've directed different productions. I still do that. I still do creative direction till this day.
Okay.
And of course, I was one of the first female choreographers in the country. Let me just throw that out there. I have choreographed for numbers. I've worked with entertainers in this country, quite big ones. So I'm just going to leave that there. But having said that, Nipedili was a chance to one, open the veil and have people see behind the curtain when entrepreneurs are pitching. What is the thinking they need to be having?
Right.
But we need to water it down to context. Because kwenye hizi shoes kubwa kuna terms ambazo unazisikia ambayo you're like Mtanzania wa kawaida, like we don't get what you mean.
Yeah.
Right? So one, break it down into contextualize it for Mtanzania wa kawaida kuweza kuelewa.
Yeah.
Two, give an opportunity for the entrepreneurs who pitch to now also have their content or their work showcased to investors outside of the continent.
Okay.
One of I think the most successful entrepreneurs who have pitched on Nipedili were able to unlock different investments globally simply because of that 13, 15-minute clip.
Okay.
So we've done 2 seasons of Nipedili so far.
Okay.
And we've had local investors on the panel. And we've had entrepreneurs. The reason I talked about Tujenge TZ Innovation Challenge, the first season of Nipedili, we had entrepreneurs largely from the Tujenge TZ Innovation Challenge come onto the show. So they came from our accelerator program and they pitched on Nipedili.
Okay.
The second season of Nipedili, we had entrepreneurs from Tujenge TZ Innovation Challenge, but we also called in other hubs to see, like, could you bring through your entrepreneurs?
Okay.
Season 3 of Nipedili is a little bit different. So the first 2 seasons of Nipedili for me was largely, yes, a proof of concept, but also sustainability for the work that we did.
Okay.
And it was largely on YouTube. We put this content up on YouTube.
Okay.
Right? Because we also wanted to have creative control over how we build it and to be able to learn the best ways to navigate.
Okay.
The third season of Nipedili, we're literally pulling from different hubs and accelerator programs across the countries.
Okay.
I'm like, it's really about showcasing the entrepreneurship landscape in the country, but not just to Tanzania, but other people out there.
Okay.
Using quality production, showmanship, and just great storytelling.
Okay.
Right? So that's the third season. We are looking for connecting with different hubs so that they can nominate people. We're going to be having doing a launch of Nipedili, soft launch first and hard launch of Nipedili soon. So people are going to be seeing a lot of it.
Yeah.
The second season is we're going to film largely in Dar, but we're also going to have editions in Arusha as well as in Mwanza.
Okay.
And so that's Nipedili season 3. We're going to have entrepreneurs across the country. And we're also going to, this time around, I don't want to spill the beans,
Okay.
but we're going to have, yes, we're going to have investors on the panel, but a large part of Nipedili will be Nipedili Kita, where we actually bring in the public as the investors. It's going to,
like crowdfunding?
No.
What do you mean bring the public as investors?
So the fact of the matter is, when it comes to investment, a lot of people feel that if you can speak well, if you're well articulated, you're investor worthy.
Okay.
Right? And most of the times when you were to show an entrepreneur who's, very good and charismatic, normally somebody will talk to you about that. That's the person you invest in.
Okay.
So basically, tutakuwa tunauliza wananchi, je, huyu apewe dili au hasipewe dili? So as much as the investors there, the public will also get to talk about, what do you think? Apewe dili?
So public opinion as well.
Yes, public opinion. So the public, and so we'll also be able to see, just the polarities, if there are any, between how the investor thinks and how the public thinks.
There's definitely going to be polarities.
We'll see.
Okay.
We'll definitely launch it and it's going to be fun. I'm really excited about this particular season.
Okay.
And also because we're building into season 4, but again, showcasing our ecosystem in a way that truly we get people to dig into it.
Okay.
I mean, we keep talking about how the education space should stop being theoretical.
Yeah.
And yet we're also treating this really fun, vibrant ecosystem the same way in many spheres. So let's release those layers and really have,
Okay. So and these entrepreneurs, they're also social enterprises au sio lazima?
So Nipedili is largely focused on social entrepreneurship.
Okay.
If we do get an entrepreneur who's up on Nipedili and they're not a social entrepreneur, we'll think about it. But a big criteria for being able to be on Nipedili is just that social entrepreneurship angle.
Okay.
I mean, and of course, when I say a social enterprise, mtu anaweza kuchanganyikiwa, what do you mean by that? As long as your business and how it operates, it directly, and just in its general business operation, just for the fact kwamba umewasha taa asubuhi, umeingia ofisini, your business directly has an impact in how a certain community
Yeah.
is operating, is
Yeah.
living, is how their lives are enhanced.
Yeah. It is a social
Yeah.
enterprise. Yeah.
Yes, it is a social enterprise.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you're telling me all these amazing things about amazing things that you're doing. What were the obstacles that you had to overcome in order for that to happen?
Guy. Wait, you have to time me. How long do I have?
Okay. If you could, to help you narrow down your thought.
Right.
Yeah. If you could look back at one particular year that you wouldn't ever want to relive again.
Nice. 2019, 2020.
Okay.
Okay, so there are many, I think I've had different challenges across different seasons. And can I put my legs up? I feel like this.
You can do anything you want.
Okay, anything I want.
You can do anything.
Chokehold you and demand $1 million.
As long as we get to Msasa.
Hatari, you will kill me. All right.
Yeah.
So I think I have had different challenges in different seasons of my life.
Mm-hmm.
One of the most, if I can remember vividly, I'd think of 3 distinct times. One in 2009 when I had my son. And between 2000 and 2010, I was just completing, what was it? An advanced diploma in mass communication. And I got a what do you call it? A scholarship.
Yeah.
A really good scholarship to finalize my degree. But I couldn't do it because I had to come back home and help take care of my family.
Yeah.
And so I had to put my education on the shelf to come back. And I actually only thought that I'd be here. I was in Malaysia, right? And I thought I'd be back in Tanzania for maybe 3 months to help sort some things out and leave. Yeah. But I never left.
Yeah.
So at that young age, I'm a young mom. And the whole idea that I have to completely leave my dreams on the side and now work because we have a family to take care of. Nobody's asking you about how you're feeling. Yeah. Nobody's asking about your dreams. Nobody's asking about what you want to do. I had my son when I was, 20? Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
And at that point, I literally, for me, life just, So it was, my mind went directly into making sure that my family was fine, my sister was fine, my child was fine. Yeah. And I went through a very hard time. I was depressed for most of the time. I was suicidal for most of the time. But nobody saw it because out in the public, I'm all about things have to be done. So chick. And nobody's asking about you. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So turn from child to breadwinner. That's what happened. Yeah. And the second distinct, and of course, there are a lot of hardships that we went through, from homelessness to, it's a story. But the other distinct part that I do remember was in 2014 when I had my daughter. Okay. Right before 2015 when I went to Nyali. You have these desires and things that you want to do, but everybody you talk to, because now I had 2 kids in a relationship that was not working. And everybody tells you you're still young, trying to figure out yourself in the world, but everything is your fault. And every single idea, passion, dream you have is irrelevant because now you have to put yourself on the back burner and do these other things. Yeah. I remember going to bed 2014, most of it, I would go to bed crying and begging for God to kill me. Every single day, I'd wake up in the morning, I'm like, God, people died, me. And somebody who's listening to this might be like, oh, but Kellz and I think even right now in this conversation, I'm filtering a lot because I've not even gone into the whys and what are the challenges that happened then. But I'm just saying that to express and to perhaps even call out that even when you think people are going through, check up on people. Yeah. Really check up on people, especially the people that you feel are okay and they're handling it well. Check up on them because trust you me, when they go to sleep, they're in shambles. even though it was a tough part, it was also a time of great reflection and great innovation for me. Because then at that time, I would also spend so much time drilling into the whys and trying to understand if other people are also going through it, etc.
Yeah.
And I'd say that some of the work that we do right now, even within the gender space, is also rooted in a lot in the experiences that I had and eventually saw other people going through in the dark. Right? So a lot of work that I do is like, I'm not saying what I've read in books, it's experiences that lived experiences, but then that have also got me to be empathetic to a certain level that mtu akisema kitu, I never in my life, never brush something off. I'm like, okay. There's something, for example, you said before this podcast, trust me, we're going to have a conversation. Yeah. So the other time, 2019, 2020, I started Unleashed Africa in 2016. I normally like to say that the first 3 years of Unleashed Africa were trial and error. People will ask me, how long has your company been existing? I'm like, hey, probably 2 years. Iyo miaka mingine, if I did not have to register a business in Tanzania, I would not have. It was not the way to go. That was literally trial and error. Like what works, what does not work, because some of the things that we wanted to do were quite different. So I'm like, we were not operating. We were literally just testing things. And then 2019 rolled in, where most of the things that we were testing were actually receiving traction in the market. The team was growing. I was busier than I ever was. Q in relationship. Q in partner does not understand what you're doing. Q in before the end of 2019, I lose some of a person that I was really training up to take on a lot of the responsibility. I lose this person. Q same year, the person I was in a relationship with, it's the same person from the beginning. It's not about all these are different people. It's the same person from the beginning. No, same person. Same person. Hey, mtosione huyu kicheche. No, same person.
Sorry.
Same person by the love of God. Same person. Guy, relationship dies.
Again.
Right? I have to tell my kids, and I've been in this relationship for a while, trying my best to really make it work. And eventually, of course, and by the way, mimi nawaambiaga watu, if you want to be an entrepreneur, also know, ukiwa namchagua mwenzako, and you tell them, this is what I want to do with my life, make sure they believe you. So kwamba kwenye wakati wa malavidavi mnaanza kutongozana, you're like, oh yes, wow. Alafu baadaye mnaanza kubadilikiana. Mtaumizana. And I think for me, that's actually what happened.
Yeah, because you can't change who you are.
Legacy, man. Legacy. Shoot. Right. So the relationship died. And in that, my children were going through a very deep transition. And what ended up happening is I left our home and I started from scratch. I left a home where, of course, people in the families that I'm connected to felt that, you have it going on. You've got this foundation. You can't leave. You have to stay and wait it out. Bobu, kuna vitu vingine, of course, siwezi kusema hapa because mshikaji anaweza kunisikia. Lakini kuna vitu vingine, ndugu yangu, vinakutokea ndani ya nyumba. Ukitoka nje ya geti, unajisop unaendelea. Mtu anakuona kwamba uko fine. But guy. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is 2019 there was that. I was going through that and trying to help the kids navigate. Starting from scratch, I moved from my home to, I normally call it my shack in Mikocheni. So I got a place where I started living kama yani kuna denti, alafu kuna ndugu yangu ile nyumba ilikuwa ikinyesha. Nyumba ilikuwa ina mapazia. Hatari. Nilihamia pale.
Karibu kwenye Msasa, where we talk to successful people about failure.
Unajua mvua ikinyesha wale vyura wakilia, utasema kwamba umelala naye kwenye mto hapa. Alafu alikuwa amezunguka. Alafu ile nyumba, unajua Mikichani pale ikinyeshaga, kuna kutokea mafuriko. Yaani nyumba hauondoki bila mabuti. Sio mabuti ya mafupi, sijui kabuti kakishikaji. No, shuri pevo. So literally I started from scratch. And at the same time, there were so many challenges with the business I was doing. When 2020 hit, I realized that my business was built very well to start, but it wasn't built to scale. We were scaling too fast. And we were scaling faster than our team, the current team, was able to handle. And at that time, I did not have the fortitude to be able to know how to navigate and help my team navigate, how to Do I put people on the side? Do I bring in consultants? I did not know how to make those business decisions. And so that cost our business heavily. So eventually I ended up having to put the company into hiatus and really pull back and restructure. And so years of operation, 2019, to launch. And then we literally came back last year, 2023. Even though hapo katikati, there are still different things that I was trying to do to really, for it not to die. So I keep saying again, I'm like, how long have you been operational? 2 years. How long have you been in existence? We came through in 2016. So those are some of the, just direct examples.
Right.
So 3 distinct needs. I've moved from family, children, family not my own, but the family I've come from, business challenges, and how all of those at different seasons can be very challenging. But every single challenge is one way or the other. Helped, build different sets of wisdom within me.
Absolutely. And the business, is it registered as a
company
limited?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not an NGO.
No.
Okay. It's a social enterprise.
100%. It's according to Tanzanian structure, it's a company limited.
Yeah.
But so it's a full-on company for profit.
Yeah.
However, we do have a social enterprise model.
Okay.
So we are a not for profit.
Okay.
So everything that comes in goes back into
the community.
The business.
Or into the work.
Into the work and just scaling our impact.
Okay.
Right.
Una navigate vipi hapa na TRA maana sio rahisi sana wa kuelewa hicho.
The way we are structured, we literally build and we need the same way another company is.
Yeah.
And, we're in a space where, of course, our policy environment is trying to keep up. We're not there yet.
Yeah.
I think we're still crawling in terms of how to understand the different ways to structure companies that can actually help us accelerate our development goals.
Yeah.
Because I do believe different policies that truly, if we have systems that truly understand what social entrepreneurship can do, and we build in the policies to be able to support that, we would have the private sector aggressively accelerating progress within our development goals, social economic development goals.
Okay.
Because a social enterprise is not just economic, really large, it's social economic targets come together.
Right.
And that's the ethos of a social enterprise.
Yeah.
So we're fully on build.
But that means every year you're not profitable. By jinsi biashara ilivyokuwa set up, it's not even supposed to be, technically, based on what you're saying, and you have been in operation for many years.
No, we've been in operation for 2.
You've been in operation for 2?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's also what you mean. Got it. Okay, you answered the question.
Right.
Cool. Can you tell me something that you believe in that most people don't agree with you on?
As a single mother raising a young man, I fully believe, and I have quite a few content that I'm going to put out about this. A woman, as a mom, I can love my son. I can nurture my son. As much as people will talk about strong women, but as a woman cannot teach a boy how to be a man. A woman cannot teach a boy how to be a man. I have no idea what it feels like to wake up with certain body advancements. I have no idea.
Body advancements?
Hey, I'm just going to call that.
Okay, cool.
I have no idea what it feels like when you scratch an itch in a masculine way. I have no idea how it feels like when you go through the same way that a man, as much as a father will try their best to raise a young girl, there are things that they would not know.
Yeah.
And so when my son, and even now, I advocate strongly for pick your partner well.
Yeah.
And make sure that you don't just pick a partner from tunapenda na jamani, jamani kani text kani uliza umekula. That ain't gonna pay the bills.
Mm-hmm.
That is not gonna raise your children. You have to figure out the values that this man has to raise kids that will truly leave legacy or just do meaningful things in the world or have a meaningful life.
Right.
But if you are in a space where, like me, you find yourself a single mother, and most of us single mothers, we were not there because we wanted to be.
Yeah.
Stuff happened.
Yeah.
And dudes be like, no. And I'm like, fine. even though you find yourself in a space where you're a single mother and you're raising a young man, find positive role models for this boy.
Okay.
And make sure you surround him with people who, when he has a question, he feels he can ask you, he can still go to.
Yeah.
Because right now, because we live in such a fatherless society where single motherhood is been put on a pedestal as this thing to be revered, it is difficult. It is hard, even though we can do it and God gives us a grace that I have no idea comes from where. But it is not something I would wish on any woman. And not even just a woman. It is not something I would wish on children. Simply because that we are made in pairs, and every one of us, the dad and the mother, come with unique sets of abilities to be able to train that child in the way they should go. Now, tukisema kwamba, as a woman, I'm going to just take care of all this space. We have too many boys that have no idea how to be men.
Yeah.
And then watoto wetu, kwa mfano, sisi wenyewe kwenye rika letu tumekutana nao ambao walikuwa raised na single mothers.
Yeah.
And you wonder, why can't you be a man? I'm like, well, nobody. Who taught him?
Yeah.
Who taught him?
Yeah.
Right? They're teaching you, they're reacting to you in the way that they were cradled. Right. They were cradled so much, so now they're expecting you to mommy. They're expecting you to mommy because that's what they've seen.
Yeah.
And that's what they're expecting, right?
Yeah.
Because they've not seen it. And so you have a certain age where the young boy needs a mother's nurture, tender love and care. Like, simtumue mtoto. Ongea na yani you wanna, to a certain age, 7 pale. Alafu baada ya hapo, wanahitaji baba ku. I'm like, let's rough play. They need that. They need that, right?
Yeah.
You know, ile kwamba you don't tell a mtoto miaka mitatu be a man. Like, he's 3. This is still a baby, he's a toddler, right?
Yeah.
That the steps in early child development, very important.
Yeah.
But both roles are so important. And so I think for a lot of people, that's very controversial. Why? Because a lot of people I know, a lot of people in communities that I interact with have been raised by single mothers. And so, of course, they will say, no, a woman can do it because you're defending your mom. I was raised by a single mom, but I saw the pitfalls that my brother encountered because he was raised by a single mother. I saw the pitfalls that I encountered in how I deal with men because I was raised by a single mother. I don't put any fault on that incredible woman. She did the best she could with what she had, but there's always a gap. And no matter how we would like to theorize it, we'd like to downplay it, there's a role for both parents, and we have to get back to building families that are whole.
Amen.
Right.
So, what's the worst advice you've ever been given?
Worst advice I've ever been given? Stop everything you're doing. So it was something that relates to stop everything that you're doing, go home and
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, why was that bad advice?
Pardon?
Why was that bad advice?
Because this focused on me reading myself on everything that makes me me.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Don't be ambitious. Don't be creative. Don't be innovative.
Yeah.
Don't want to give back.
Yeah.
Don't want to build.
Yeah.
You have to find a man that takes care of your bills.
Right.
And stay at home with the children.
Mm.
I have nothing against women who literally, by the way, I normally tell people, when I'm tired, people are like, oh, utakuwa umechoka, uko kazini umechoka. I'm like, actually, kazini hakunichoshi. Nyumbani.
Kunachosha.
Yo! Hey!
Yeah.
Guys, the mental load that to really, and because for me, I'm a very present mom. See me make up and I'm like, let's talk, let's engage. And because you're vibe. Ukienda kulala, the kids do not know you've crashed. You just disappear. But it's so important. The work that parents, stay-at-home parents do is massive. But then, of course, feed into all of us, again, back to the point I made earlier, have a purpose to accomplish on this world.
Right.
As much as I'm a very present parent, when any of my kids will tell you, I will probably have conversations and I've been to spaces with my parents, not places, but to spaces mentally, emotionally with my children that hata mtu ambaye anaweza kuwa nakaa na watoto wake masaa 8 kwa siku, masaa 10, 24/7 might not have because I'm that intentional. But my purpose is to also to also build into the world that they will live in when they leave my home.
It's very nice. You've thought about it.
Or have I thought about it now?
You've thought about it. You've thought about it. It's very nice. It's good to be so clear about stuff that you need to get done, because it also helps you navigate better how you're going to go about getting it done. Some people get lost in the journey because they don't even know where they're going. So, hongera.
Right.
Yeah. As a serial entrepreneur.
You say that so seriously, as a serial entrepreneur. Let's go for it.
What's your relationship with failure?
With failure?
Yeah.
Guy, just even this morning I failed. What are you talking about?
What did you fail? What didn't happen?
Yeah, just up I've been sent a message on WhatsApp somebody telling me I'm unprofessional.
Yeah, unprofessional.
Guy, man, we fail every day.
Yeah.
One of the things I have learned.
Yeah.
When you are navigating building something,
yeah,
you are going to fail,
yeah,
Caribbean, every day.
Yeah.
Because when you wake up in the morning,
yeah,
you will always have a perspective of something you want to build.
Yeah.
Again, there's this saying that we overestimate what we can do in a day and
Yeah.
underestimate what we can do in a yes.
Yeah.
So we always have this grandiose picture of
Yeah.
what we're going to do.
What's
And
achievable?
sometimes even before umeingia ofisini umeshafeli.
Yeah.
Because you're like, guy, you think you have 56 hours in a day. You
Yeah,
don't. You have
yeah.
24.
You only have 24.
And then in those 24 hours, you probably only have, out of the 8 hours you're in the work, or even if you're 14, you have about 7 hours or 5 to 7 hours of
real work.
serious real
Yeah.
work. And that's if you're lucky.
Yeah.
And that's if you don't,
On
you're
the
not
right day.
responding to emails, because these emails, by as much as it's great, most of the emails you receive are emails that you cannot just respond to. You have
Yeah.
to think about.
Yeah.
In this world where everybody wants to throw everything on ChatGPT and for you to do your thinking for you,
Yeah.
it will mess you up. ChatGPT is great to enhance your own thinking.
Yeah.
So you
But
want to put
still
some
have to
thinking
have
behind.
some thinking.
100%.
Yeah.
And so most of the things that, for me, it has taken me a while to be okay with what I can't do.
Okay.
And to be okay in taking accountability for the things that I consider failures.
Okay.
And I don't call them failures anymore.
Right.
I'm like, they're building blocks.
Right.
Because every single thing that I do is a stone.
Right.
It's a stone building the foundation of the future that I'm building.
Absolutely.
For myself, future generations, my kids included.
Yeah.
Right? Because the world that I'm building is the one that my children, my grandchildren will also exist in.
Yeah.
Let me let you in on a secret, by the way. Normally when I pray, I also pray for my grandkids. And my grandkids are a great motivator. Sometimes when I'm working out, okay, it's probably something really silly.
Okay.
Sometimes when I'm working out and I don't want, and I'm like, self-motivation. So I'd be doing that push-up. And I'm like, mjukuu wangu, nakuja. I want to be able to, because I want to be able to play with my kids, my grandkids. I want to be able to throw them up and run with them.
Right.
I'm like, I'm definitely going to be that fun grandma. I'm like, you're on a bike, tuko pamoja. I'm like, mimi nakuacha ti. No, mwanangu, no. We're tuko pamoja.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm like, I'm coming. Grandma is doing this for you. Like, seriously, it's the funniest thing. I'm like, sometimes I think if there's a camera here, wananchi wangenicheka. But anyway.
It ties back to the legacy thing. Yeah.
100%. You only get one body. I plan to live with it well in the mighty name of Jesus Christ. So, having a relationship with your pitfalls, your challenges, the gaps, that does not make me feel worser, lesser than, inferior, or that attracts my sense of self-worth, is a very important journey that I've gone to. And that is so important. Failure is inevitable.
Right.
And if you enter anything and feel that, I want to be perfect, Kwanzaa, you have failed. That is the biggest failure in itself.
Right.
Being able to just literally embrace the pitfalls and being able to take accountability for when they happen is exactly what we need to do.
Yeah.
And so I think, and for that taking accountability is something that took me a while to learn, because sometimes you want to be perfect.
Yeah.
You want to do it right. You don't want to appear like...
unajikuta unajitetea.
Yeah, exactly.
Making excuses for yourself.
Exactly.
Or for other people.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. Sometimes the failure comes out of mismanaged expectations before you started to do whatever it is that you thought you were going to do. Like having that.
Let me tweet. What did you just say?
What did I just say? What?
Mismanaged expectations.
Mismanaged expectations. It's like I catch myself doing that a lot when I have this to-do list.
Right.
That's haiwezekani. Lakini inawezekana. Mimi ni mimi.
Unajiona mjeda.
And then you're like...
Unajiona Van Damme mwenyewe.
And sometimes you feel shitty about it.
Right.
Although sometimes you shouldn't, because as you were speaking, I remembered something that I read. Nadhani ni leo tu.
Right.
This gentleman was talking about retirement. I think he's about to retire.
Right.
I didn't read it. I listened to it. I listened to podcasts in the morning. Yeah. So I was listening to it, and he had this poem, and only one thing stood out for me. Don't let a tall wall make you feel small. I was like, yeah. Okay. Cool. So on that same train of thought, what would you, Kellz, consider as one of your biggest failures?
This is something that I've been thinking of really reflecting on, especially in prayer lately. When I was younger, I allowed myself to be convinced of the fact, and this is not just when I was younger, the building blocks started when I was younger, into my 20s, all the way into my 30s.
Yeah.
That even though there are things that I could do, I was always convinced that I wasn't the best person to do them. I was always convinced that I would never do them right. I was always convinced that I was not worthy to do them. I was always convinced that the things that I like, my nerdiness, were out of place. I was always convinced that, right? And so it was one of those things where in the public eye, people be like, oh, Kellz, but you're like literally sinking in the quicksand of your own like insecurities. And of course, these insecurities are not things that you put in place. The world around you, the things that you were told, the things that you heard growing up, these foundations are building blocks to the trauma that one way or the other for me got me to believe things about myself that were not reality.
Okay.
And so one of the things that I do nowadays is I always remind myself, go back to factory settings. Because I remember the Kellz at the age of 7, 8. I was courageous and ambitious and confident. People talk about me be confident now. I'm like, my role model is my 6-year-old self.
Yeah.
100%. Because I was not so inundated with the beliefs, these outside forces in me. I was not so saturated at that point. And so even when I'd read those books, I'd think about the world and I'd think about my creativity and my talent. I'd think about what I really wanted to do. And when, of course, I started expressing and sharing with people what I wanted to do is when now I started getting the, oh, wewe. Na wewe pia. Haiwezekani. Wewe, unajiona sana. Unajiona, I think I've heard it all. All different ways that somebody can, nimezisikia zote. Na kuna vingine sijavisikia, nimefanyia, kuna wengine wamefanya mambo. To really make you believe or that that's not something for you. So my biggest pitfall is that it took me too long to get to a point where I realized what that foundation was still in existence and how that foundation had actually altered my own worldview of myself in the world and how I was connecting to people and giving back. Not even giving back to kwamba I'm impacting the world, but even connecting and relating and engaging in conversations. Because even as I'm speaking to you, before you've ever said something, I've already judged myself in the way that I think you should judge me because of the way somebody else judged me before. So, nimeshajiweka kizibani, nimeshatoa hukumu, nimeshamaliza. So even before you say anything, I am already in my mind out of the books for you. And I think that is very subtle in terms of how it operates within a lot of people, by the way, especially in the creative space. And I don't feel like we talk about it enough openly, and we don't have conversations where we can be vulnerable about it. And the reason I share openly nowadays is because I'm like, there are too many people going through these things. And I wish there's a point where I could literally hear somebody sharing authentically about their journey. So I can also, me too. Like, oh, kumbe. So then you can tell me, okay, so how did you escape that? Don't just tell people work hard, but there were different ways that you had to navigate the different, issues that you are going through. And so, that's for me, because I think that's really kept me from being myself, from discovering myself, from really exploring friendships, from really exploring relationships and what they could mean. And I can only truly say I'm only learning to make friends now. I'm only learning to love myself fully now. I'm learning to do those things because I've literally been able to look clearly at those experiences, call them for what they were, see my part in them, because I also played a part. I'm not just going to blame the world. I heard a lot of part in some of the BS I did, right? My part in them, and be able to call a spade and say, yo, no more. Right.
Especially creative. I agree with you there. It resonates because to a very large degree, people who do creative work, technically unatengeneza kitu ili mtu mwingine akipende. It's a lot of pressure.
Right.
It's never for yourself. Which means you're prone to a lot of rejection. And if you don't handle it well, it's kind of really messes with your self-esteem and, your self-talk, what you tell yourself in the mirror or when you're sleeping at night or et cetera, et cetera. Hivi vitu unakuwa unavichukulia poa, but if you say it over 5 years, it becomes your reality. I like what you're talking about in terms of learning how to even become a better friend.
Right.
And it's interesting because, for instance, you know how una mshikaji wako anaweza akawa alipata changamoto na changamoto fani serious kiasi, labda ya kiafya au ya kifamilia, na aliwaza kukucheki wewe, alafu akashika simu akasema, but Kellz is probably busy, and then hakucheki, without knowing huyo mtu is causing more damage on the friendship than if angekusumbua. Because hata kama kweli uko busy, you would have appreciated knowing that this person thought of you when they're in this kind of problem. And actually, you would have probably stopped what you're doing because the problem is that serious and is worthy of dropping something else because maybe someone's life is at stake. Which basically shows kwamba sometimes you make friends only when you're vulnerable. Not just when you're giving them or helping them.
That's
like
true.
Their vulnerability to you would have made them a better friend to you because you would have had to become a better friend to them, not because of what could be done after. So, that safe space is kind of really, inahitajika itokee. Na ikiwezekana, even if a small community of 2-3 people who you can talk about this kind of stuff with inasaidia kiasi.
And there's also pride, right? There's also pride involved in terms of and I can see for myself, where for so long I was used, toka nikiwa mdogo, you're used to taking care of others. You're the person, you're the first girl, you're the person, mzazi amekuachia wewe majukumu. So you're so used to being the person people come to, such that I'll be honest with you, I had to learn how to ask for help. Mpaka leo it's so hard. Because, but immediately you call me, guy, drop. Like, what? I think I met you at the cinema once, and you were looking for the glasses. I just remember, and I had them. And in my mind, I'm like, what? You want to buy new glasses? I'm like, take these ones. Like, what do you, I'm like, solution.
But you walk with so many glasses in your purse, why?
No. But so I ended up actually going to get other glasses. Because we'd given you those ones. But then for me, it was like, what are you talking about? Where you're looking and I have them, take them. I'll go get, let me be inconvenienced. But then there's also getting to that point where if I were to meet Hisia and he has a pair, would I ask Hisia for a pair of glasses? Because would he, would I think that, let me just also ask and be safe, but I need help.
Yeah,
right? How do you
not be as easy, yeah?
Right, asking for
Yeah.
help is actually a struggle for a lot of people who have been bred being the one who is solving for other people. There's that pride, and also there's also a need for empathy because we go through so very different journeys. So sometimes unaweza mkawa mko tena shuleni, mko kwenye mazingira sawa, mtu anaweza ku assume kwamba wote mna mtazamo mmoja. Hamna. The foundations that form our thinking, our mental models are so different.
Right.
So sometimes we force ourselves to act, to operate, to speak the way the group speaks simply because we want to belong.
Right.
And it takes a very special person to see that you're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And being able to say that, hey, let me stretch out our hand and find and bring and pull you in, but not pull you in a way that you have to be like me to fit in, but pull you in so that we can create a space where you can be comfortable in blossoming in the authentic and the real unique self that you are. We don't have enough people doing that. And there's such an important space for empathy. And for me, because like I said, when I was small, I used to always feel very different. I was joking that there's a point I used to convince myself that I was an alien.
Right.
Because I'm like, I do not resonate with all these things.
Yeah.
Right? And it was so hard for me to authentically make friends.
Right.
Watu wana make a jokes na wewe unacheka because nao wanacheka.
Yeah.
But in truly you don't understand, like, that was not funny. In your mind you're like, that was really not funny. What the heck?
Yeah.
And then when you want to make, you're like, would they laugh? What would they think? Would they get it?
Yeah.
And sometimes you make one and then to you it's so funny, it's so nerdy. But they don't get it. And you're like, this. But then you're like, oh yeah, fine, it was not funny. No, you thought it was funny.
Yeah, that's why you said it.
Right, that's why you said it.
Yeah.
But then now we need more people who can stretch out their hand and say, well, I see you. And it's fine because God makes us so uniquely different.
Yeah.
And that's the difference in those thumbprints. And we need the differences that we have.
Amen.
But the problem is we're consistently trying to make people fit into our own perceptions of what should be, such that we lose the unique blend of what we all can bring to the table.
Yeah.
And hence we have tables that do not have any spice, vibe, and authenticity, originality, and we're here regurgitating the same ish of the past. So
regurgitating. Msasa.
Yeah.
Msasa. Amen. So, Kellz, we have a segment in the podcast.
Right.
About tunaita nje boxi.
Nje box.
Yeah, nje boxi. And the idea for nje boxi is to allow our guest, you today, to take us to school. Utupige msasa, haswa. And kwa leo, we would like to lean in a little bit on an area that we've talked about for the past hour. And it is about specifically taking something to market, right? And, feel free to pick a social enterprise as a case study, but you could use any example, really. But the core of the question is, there's a billion ideas, right? And most of them will fail because the execution wasn't good enough. Some of them will fail for capital reasons. Some of them will fail because people didn't pivot quickly enough. They couldn't think of their feet. They were stubborn in the execution instead of being stubborn in the vision. Marketing, timing, partners, nakadhalika. Lakini at the end of the day, anything that is something started with an idea. And it is the thinking behind that idea that allows things to happen in the world to change. So as someone who's within the ecosystem of supporting some of these entrepreneurs to not only pitch their ideas, but also figure out how to bring their ideas to life, and then for those ideas to have a life beyond 1, 2, 3, 5 years. What are the common or the recurring qualities you see in entrepreneurs who are more likely to fail than succeed?
I think, so as much as I'm working really to create these spaces, I'm also somebody who, considering I'm an innovator as well, so I understand the plight because I'm also creating.
Right.
So I'm on both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
That's very important for me to mention. And hence, normally, even as we are creating these spaces, so for example, in the different accelerator programs I've run, Tujienge TZ Innovation Challenge, Uwezo Tanzania with Follow Her and with Follow Her from France. We can create from a space of knowing.
Okay.
Knowing the fears, understanding, the questions, the doubts, the unknowing, you don't know what you don't know, that entrepreneurs grapple with, because we grapple with the same thing. I'm working on fundraising the way a lot of entrepreneurs are working on fundraising.
Yeah.
I'm working on trying to discover, product market fit the way a lot of entrepreneurs are. So I'm in that space we're in that space together.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm speaking from that angle.
Yeah.
What I believe is truly the biggest reason a lot of enterprises fail, and a lot of, and this is something that I challenge myself with. And somebody would say, "Oh, Manza, why don't you just go to market? Why did you test for so long?" Listen, a lot of innovations that truly stand the test of time, that truly solve a problem, had visionaries who truly understood the problem. And truly saw the problem not from Google na umeona statistics juu kwa juu, lakini mtu anaweza akadadavua akachimba. They can literally be a thought leader in that space because they're seeing things differently. And that helps you build an innovation that can actually solve even gaps that people didn't realize are gaps.
Right.
We exist in a space where we have copy-paste innovations, nyingi sana. And then we also have, I'm thinking of how to be diplomatically correct.
Please don't.
But no, I have to be. But we also have innovations that are, for the heck of it, innovations. What I mean is, kwa mfano, the gender space has become very, very commercialized.
Okay.
Gender equality, We have several different people who are doing great things. Kila to every Tom, Nini, and their parent can pick up a mic and find stats and talk about, wanake, kila mtu sasa amekuwa nini mbobezi. Lakini, do you truly understand the issue? Listen, there have been billions of funding that have gone into this space in sub-Saharan Africa. But if you look at the outcomes over the years, if you look at the outcome indicators over the years, in some areas, we've actually taken steps back than forward. Even though there have been so many programs, there have been so many initiatives, there have been so many entrepreneurship building needs, lakini watu wanapitia, unakutana na mwanamke mwingine ana makabrasha ya certificates, lakini kitu chake bado hakiwezi kunyanyuka. Because this space has and the moment something becomes trendy, everybody wants to go into, we don't necessarily fully understand the problems and how to solution for. So then we are literally just creating not solutions, but we're literally just creating band-aids so that we can earn a buck at the end of the month. Because these spaces and a lot of programs, they're literally, their biggest goal is to create salaries for the people involved.
Say that again.
A lot of programs,
right?
Projects that exist within many spaces across, and this is not just gender, the development spectrum exists to create salaries for those involved. Nimeandika proposal nzuri, kizungu changu kimenyoka, nimemuita fundraising expert, kaweka kitu fulani pale, M&E framework imekaa, imeenda shule Excel imedondoka, ukifanya tu pale kale ka Dropbox alafu nimekwenda nimeingiza na ka tool, unajua kuna vile tool fulani vya mdau kwa kasisimka, kahela kakaingia kwenye account, kagari kakanunuliwa, kanini ofisi kakanini, kakochi cha milioni 8 kakawekwa hapo. Watu wako vizuri kwa sababu pia mdau akija lazima awe comfortable one tunachokifanya. Lakini ukiangalia the work between, if you compare the work that's actually the depth of understanding outside the fluff, and the theory involved in actually solutioning across different sectors. And I brought on the gender space as an example. Watu wengi sana are stuck in fluff. Na ndo maana hata manufaa, hata outcomes hatuzioni kama, yani outcomes hazimatch. Maana sasa hivi tunasema tu, tuna polisi, tuna raisi mwanamke, so we've made some tremendous steps. Are you serious? That's a great step. We have a female president and we are very proud of that. But look at all the other indicators, and I'm not going to go into that deeply. I'm going to talk about the importance of understanding and building a solution that's grounded on a firm understanding of the problem and a consistent understanding and questioning our understanding of the problem. Because problems mature, things change.
Environments change.
Pardon?
Environments change.
100%.
Culture.
I hear 100%.
Yeah.
And so considering if those things change, we also have to understand the changing landscapes of that the people for whom we're innovating are shifting. We have to understand how those are shifting.
Yeah.
Because tatizo lake, kwa mfano, if you're solutioning for a young girl, and there's work that we do with Rise Up. So Rise Up is a digital safe space we have developed. And and by the way, I'm going to definitely invite you to. We're going to be launching a research soon. And the research really delves into and a lot of the mishaps in understanding some of the challenges that young girls go through. Girls and young women. And I won't go into it here because we've not necessarily launched it, but for anybody watching, that's going to be made available soon. Okay. But we really dig into what are the intrinsic challenges. Kuna vitu tunaviona hapa juu ya boksi. Lakini ndani, manake hamna kitu ambacho tunakiona kama changamoto ambacho hakina mzizi. Na kila mzizi una mzizi wake. Na kila manake mizizi vinatoka. So then, if you really want to make sure the symptoms of the issue zinapungua, you have to understand how you deal with the problem. And most of the times we want to point fingers and say, we should, mindset. But then, like, how are we exactly doing things to resolve those things? So for us, Rise Up is built on a foundational desire, hunger, and curiosity to understand the issue. What people see of Rise Up right now in the market is not what we're building. That's the starting point. But then it's built on a deep hunger. And I've said empathy connected to the story that I have of knowing and asking questions, consistently asking why. Why? Okay, fine. Why? Look, let's talk about choice, because the thing that brought Rise Up to us, that got us innovating Rise Up, was trying to understand the part that choice has, what informs decision-making, but not just decision-making on a high level, but then intrinsically, what are the intrinsic drivers of choice? Yes, unaweza tukasema kwamba kuna society, kuna parents, kuna nini, lakini unaweza kukuta wanawake wawili wametoka kwenye mazingira hayo, right? Wanametokea lakini wanafanya maamuzi tofauti kuhusu kitu ambacho kwenye mfumo wa maisha. Why? Let's ask why. How do we get people to make, because as much as we can blame the border drivers, but there's also accountability that has to be put back on the women. Right? I mean, there are things that we cannot stay away from. How do we drive those?
Right.
And also, for example, even as we are innovating within the creative economy, I've talked about the work that I haven't talked about the work that we do, but we also do work within the creative economy. And we have an artist development program that we're launching, Msanii Imara. Shout out.
Very cool.
Lazima tukuite mkufunzi. Tukuite. Tukuite. Utunyoshe vizuri. Utupige Msasa. And we're really looking at, yes, we're talking about the creative economy, the creative industry, but there are different gaps and there are prevalent issues that are in existence simply because of things that are not their mental model issues kwa msanii. Yes, kuna issues upande wa policies. Yes, kuna issues upande wa kwamba the consumer behavior. Yes, kuna issues hapa. But how do we have to think about how do we change the things that we can change. And kwa msanii, how can you understand the problems you're existing within, some of them that you're propagating yourself, so that you can solution for yourself. So even as we are creating solutions within the creative industry, we have done a lot of research work. We have done a lot of research work. Kama nilivyokuambia kwamba operations, I have literally put my own back behind a lot of research trying to understand what are the issues here, so that tunavyotengeneza kitu kikitoka at a certain level, Ukiniuliza swali Bobu, ninaweza nika cut and break it down in ways that will shock you. And that is why I think a lot of innovations are great and they're pretty. And they're trendy. Zinaweza zikapiga trend miaka mitatu minne. But haziwezi zikapiga 15 years, 20 years, 50 years. They will not be able to hit the long haul.
Right. And this is because the size of the challenge or problem they're trying to solve is not deep enough.
It's not even deep enough. The understanding of the problems. Matatizo yapo.
The entrepreneur's understanding of the same challenge is not.
The understanding of the because killer challenge, there's something behind
there's a layer,
it. There's something. How do we understand not just those layers, but how they interconnect?
Right.
How they also interconnect the microeconomic environment.
Right.
How the different global trending shifts and global trends are actually impacting. Kila kitu connects.
Right.
But we cannot just look something from this angle kwa sababu investor huyu anakitaka because program hii ambayo itatupa hela inataka ituangalie hivi. Tumebaki tunaangalia hivyo tu.
Yeah.
And in all honesty, I'm telling you, Hisia, I might not hit, kinebongo tunasema hit big. I might hit big this year or next year. But trust you me, 2027, you will hear our name. Not just in TZ, but across, simply because I'm investing in the groundwork. Na mtu anaweza sikuona akaona you're wasting time. But I'm like, let me waste time. Kitu kinacho, I'm not wasting time.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. We're building, but also kuhakikisha kwamba zile building blocks, ule msingi, unaweza kuwa imara kubeba kile kitu unachojengea. Maanake unaweza ukajenga kitu kikadamshi, kikapendeza, kumbe the foundations upon which you are building, if they shift, hiki kinadondoka.
Yeah. The foundations weren't strong enough.
100%. And the foundations is not just kwamba umesajili kampuni Bobu. Ni kwamba unajengea nini? Unatatua nini? Because tatizo unalotatua sasa hivi matatizo kwenye sectors ambazo tuna exist, and even in the communication space, how we're approaching communications right now in 2024, 2020 different. No, if you're not dedicated to unlearning, learning, relearning,
right,
you're in trouble.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You're in trouble.
Yeah. Khalila, asante sana kwa kuja Msasani.
Msasani?
Yeah.
You could say you call it?
Well, no, it's just Msasa. Like it's just to see when you're in the space.
Msasani.
Msasani.
Pale Msasani kuna jamaa anauza chips nzuri pale.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And asante kwa kufunguka. To bless.
You have to give me a joke though.
I will. Karibu kwenye Msasa, where we talk to successful people about failure.